welcome. So, something hit me today, and I've not heard anybody specifically say this as of yet. So I may be breaking news here. Anyway, look, I've been listening to, at least for the last 5 years, if not longer, but at least the last 5 years, I've been listening to what would be considered contrarian economic people, analysts, etc. And well, when I was back in college, I took a few economics courses, and I thought, that's interesting. I'd like to be an economist. And then I thought, no, I could only imagine being an economist for the government, and I thought that might be pretty doggone boring. So, but the ideas about the economics was interesting to me. And these contrarian analysts and financial people, etc., they just make a lot more sense to me than the guys I was watching on CNBC and NBC and ABC and CBS, etc. Even Fox. They just and so I've sort of been keeping up with those kind of guys all along. Now, what's interesting is what they were saying forever is, hey, guess what? We're in a terrible financial situation. Our country is so far in the debt, it's pitiful. People have been talking about that, of course, for over a decade. You can go back and watch any political party talking about it over a decade ago, either one of them. We need to get out of debt. We need to balance our budget. And of course, back in the 90s, they did balance the budget one time. But it's not a new idea that we're in debt. We got to do something. The economy can't hold up the way it's going. And so people would often say, well, there's what's going to happen. These are people who are theorizing. What's going to happen is we're going to have a Black Swan event. And a Black Swan event could be a war, or it could be a pandemic, or anything. So let me just read right quick from the Britannica. Black Swan Event from Britannica. Black Swan Event, a Black Swan event, high impact event that is difficult to predict under normal circumstances, but that in retrospect appears to have been inevitable. A Black Swan event is unexpected and therefore difficult to prepare for, but it's often rationalized with the benefit of hindsight as having been unavoidable. And of course, the people who were saying there's got to be they didn't know what it was going to be. They just knew there had to be some Black Swan event. Let's look at, this is from the Investopedia. One frequently cited example of Black Swan event was the housing market crash of 2008, which led to the Great Recession. Most of you have probably lived through that. Other examples include the COVID-19 pandemic, the terrorist attacks of September 11th, and the hyperinflation crisis in Zimbabwe. So those are kind of Black Swan events. Well, these people were saying, look, things are, and often what they were talking about is that you need to be prepared for the Black Swan event. There's a crisis, there is an economic crisis coming. And if we don't do something about it, then people could just get wiped out. So, and often they were pointing out, you need to get yourself some gold, if you don't have gold, you need to get yourself some gold. You should have got it 10 years ago when these guys were talking about it. But anyway, this is sort of hard to see, but this is a graph of the price of gold. And at one end of it is January 2020. So that's 5 years ago. And it was lower than that. It went down to like $1,100 or something like that back after it peaked around 2012 and then it dropped sort of precipitously. But it's so at January the 20th, 2020, it was $1,527. Okay? And you see it's gone up. It's now $3,109 as of when I printed this today. All right? If you bought gold 5 years ago, it's doubled in price. Now, that's not the point. I'm just saying this is what these people were warning you. Hey, the price of gold is going to take off, and the price of other things, it's going to be hard to. The value of the dollar keeps going down. This is not new. Anybody can tell you the value of dollar is going to pot, little by little over the last 100 years. It used to be a dollar. Over 100 years ago, it was a dollar, and it's gone down to where it's virtually worth nothing today, literally. But we pretend, as long as as long as you and I are willing to pretend that the con is worth something, then it works, right? And so, as long as Publix will take my a buck and let me buy a candy bar, then it works. But when Publix says I don't want that anymore, then I'm stuck. And I better have something like this right here, or silver, or something like that. So, if you do, be smart. Don't keep it at your house. Get it, put it in a deposit place and everything. But anyway, so these people have been warning of this Black Swan event, which you never know when it is or what it is, right? But you just know it's going to be something. What I've been suspicious about for a good while now, as I listen, I watch what's going on in politically, socially, etc. around me. I'm a little cynical. I'm not absolutely trusting. I'm hopeful, but I'm not trusting. So I think I've told people from time to time. I think we have been in the midst of a planned demolition of the economy, a planned restructuring of the economy. Now, I believe there was one plan that was planned, but this is a different plan that's happening right now than the plan that was planned. Okay, and I'm not going to get into the details of that, other than to say that it's planned. Okay, so newsflash: I've come to the conclusion, it hit me today. Tariffs. That's the Black Swan event. You had to have something to cause us to restructure things. And some people thought there's a lot of people. You can listen, go back, even today. I bet you can go on some website today or listen to some person today who is concerned about things, who's saying, look, we could have a world war. And of course, they're right. We could have a world war. Bad things have happened around the world where you could have a world war. Or, hey, look, we've had one pandemic. We see that now they're doing things with some other kind of viruses and things. And they keep telling us, hey, we got a virus coming, we got a virus coming. They might be planning another pandemic, okay? That would cause COVID-19 made us shut down our economy for a while, right? So maybe that's the plan. But I've been figuring whatever they're doing, they're in greater control of this than some of these people who are really worried are. Now, they have a right to be worried, but I just can't see the way they've been pumping this. What do you call it? M2, the monetary, where they print money and keep the fluidity in our economy going. Is what they do. They print a whole lot of it, just keep printing money. Look, nobody was working, nobody was making money during the virus, and yet they printed a whole lot of money so that we'd have money, we'd spend money, people could keep jobs, and there'd be some fluidity in the economy. So they've been tweaking this for a long time, and whether they were on the good guy's side or the bad guy's side, you decide that, okay? But it's been a plan, I think. That's just my conclusion. And the tariffs is doing it, see? So how are you going to, everybody's been talking about, look, this stock market's been going crazy. It's ridiculous. It's just going up and up and up and up. And some people will continue to say, oh, it'll continue to go up and up and up and up. But how do you get enough of a correction for the stock market to make people change the direction of how they're investing, and etc.? How do you restructure maybe some of what's going on with the banks? How do you do these things? You got to have a crisis to do it. And I think there's obviously some people, especially those who are the 1% part of the country who owns everything pretty much, These are the people who have to go into crisis because they're the ones that have the hands on it, right? They've got a chokehold on things. They sent jobs overseas. People lost jobs. You know, do you? Maybe if you had a pension fund, your pension fund's invested in the stock market, but are you invested in the stock market otherwise? Right? Well, not a lot of people are. So, so if the stock market goes to crap, then who's that affecting? You know, not affecting me much. Sorry to my brothers and sisters who all have money in the stock market, but be patient. Be patient. I think once again, to me it appears to be a planned demolition, and so I just wanted to get on here and say to you, hey, I think that our black swan, this black swan, is a planned event. Now, and it just may be interesting. I'll share a few other things with you about black swan. So this is from Corporate Finance Institute, and it says the origins of the term black swan come from a Latin expression used to describe something as being a rare event, nearly impossible. When the term was first used as far back as the 2nd century, it was believed that all swans were white. Black swans were presumed not to exist, and none had ever been observed. Of course, this is by Europeans, right? In the 1500s London, a black swan was used to denote something impossible. It couldn't happen. However, when black swans were later observed in Australia by a Dutch explorer in the late 1600s, this turned the belief that all swans were only white onto its head. So, you know, in more recent times, black swans are anything that challenges the foundation of any system of thought. So, black swan is something you just don't expect. And people didn't know what to expect. They heard Trump talk about tariffs, and they probably thought, oh, he's going to do a little bit here, a little bit there. But when he came out and had a whole list of all these countries and everything, and he's going to town with China right now, that's got people real nervous. And, you know, I'm sitting here looking at the stock market and other markets, crypto market, down. Good time to buy crypto, y'all. Zip down. You know, I bought some XRP and some HBAR this morning because it's pretty cheap stuff comparatively. So, and you know, we'll see where it goes. But not just a little bit. As I've told you before, I just want to be in the game, and if I can turn, you know, $50 into $500, that'd just be terrific, wouldn't it? Anyway, black swan. Now, is this true or is it false? I don't know. And that's see, I'm always thinking about what is true. And I believe that if you want to know what's true, you need to stop listening to all the chatter, especially the stuff that's planned for you on the mainstream stuff, or let's call them, as someone pointed out, those legacy media is probably the term to use. Legacy media, because it's getting to where podcasts are mainstream. Joe Rogan is probably, and there's a few others. Somebody, what's his name? Tucker Carlson. I mean, those guys have huge shows, right? I mean, piles of followers. I'm not mainstream, but I appreciate you watching, and you know, feel free to share because I want people need to know. Look, this I'm the first one saying it. This is our black swan. Okay, so you need to let other people know this is a black swan. Now, anyway, let me get back to truth. Seek truth if you really want truth, instead of having your own desires satisfied. Because unfortunately, it's really easy to listen to people who are saying what we want to be true. And, you know, I watched something just yesterday. I can't remember what it was, but it was a meme or something, and about how things were. Anyway, my response to the meme was, I believe, you know, a long time ago there was an entity who told a couple of people, "Oh, God doesn't really mean that." Well, I'm concerned about what the truth is, And just because I don't want it to mean what it is, doesn't mean I can get around it. So seek truth if you're sincere about it, really want truth, and pray for it to your Creator. Then you'll get your truth. I'm pretty sure. Have a good day.